Have you ever felt like something was watching you in the woods? Not an animal, not a person, but a presence, ancient, hollow, and hungry. There's a legend whispered in the icy forests of North America, a creature so terrifying, so cursed, that even speaking its name was once taboo. The Wendigo, some call it a demon, others a spirit. But to the Algonquin-speaking tribes of the North, the Wendigo is far more than myth. It is a warning, a reflection of what happens when humanity is consumed by greed, selfishness, and hunger beyond control. But what if the Wendigo is more than just a metaphor? What if something truly inhuman haunts the woods? Let's follow the tracks. The Wendigo legend comes from the Algonquin peoples, including the Cree, Ojibwe, Innu, and others whose territories stretch across the cold forests of Canada and the northern US. In these traditions, the Wendigo isn't just a monster. It's a spirit of famine, born in the dead of winter when food runs low and desperation rises. It is said that when a person gives in to cannibalism or commits acts of betrayal or greed during times of hardship, they don't just sin, they transform. Their heart grows cold, their soul becomes twisted, and the Wendigo takes root. Descriptions vary, but the theme is always the same. A once human being, now monstrous, gaunt, towering, with sunken eyes and a hunger that can never be satisfied. Sometimes described with antlers, rotting skin, or skeletal limbs, always emaciated yet impossibly strong. The more it eats, the hungrier it becomes. Some say its heart is made of ice. Others say it cries with the voice of the wind. But all say this: it never stops hunting. But here's what makes the Wendigo truly terrifying. It's not just a monster out there, it's a monster within. To the tribes that birthed the legend, the Wendigo isn't just about cannibalism. It's about imbalance. The destruction caused when a person puts themselves above the community. When greed takes over, when someone violates the sacred bond with the land and their people. The Wendigo warns, if you take more than you need, if you betray those around you, you become something else, something hollow. In this way, it's not unlike modern horror themes: addiction, corruption, loss of humanity. But this story, it's ancient, thousands of years older than any Hollywood script. A warning passed down in oral tradition long before colonization. Here's where it gets even stranger. In the 17th through 19th centuries, European explorers and missionaries wrote disturbing reports of Wendigo cases. They spoke of individuals who, despite having access to food, became obsessed with the idea of eating human flesh, claiming they were turning into a Wendigo. This phenomenon became known in modern psychiatry as Wendigo psychosis, considered a culture-bound syndrome where individuals believe they are becoming a supernatural monster. Some psychologists doubted it ever existed, calling it a misinterpretation of indigenous culture. But others argue the fear was real, deeply embedded in the belief systems of these communities. One infamous case, Swift Runner, a Cree man who, in the winter of 1878, murdered and consumed his family despite being near a Hudson's Bay outpost with supplies. He claimed he was overtaken by a Wendigo spirit. He was later executed by authorities. True possession, or the mind crumbling under starvation and isolation. Either way, the Wendigo's shadow was real and deadly. Some indigenous elders insist the Wendigo is not just folklore. They say the spirit of the Wendigo still walks, not always in physical form, but as an energy, a force that corrupts the land and the minds of those who disrespect nature, tradition, and balance. Look around today. Deforestation destroying sacred lands, corporations consuming resources with no regard for consequence, wars, greed, and societal decay. To many, modern society itself has become Wendigo-like. Always consuming, never satisfied. Some spiritual leaders believe the Wendigo has evolved, no longer just a beast in the woods, but a spiritual sickness infecting humanity. And when people vanish in the northern woods, some still whisper, The Wendigo took them. The Wendigo has crept into pop culture, from horror movies to TV shows like Supernatural, Hannibal, and even Marvel Comics. But here's the truth. Most of these depictions get it wrong. They strip away the cultural meaning and reduce the Wendigo to a cheap jump scare. To the Algonquin peoples, the Wendigo is not a werewolf, not a yeti, not just a creepy deer-headed creature. It is a sacred teaching, a warning, a mirror. When media ignores this, it disrespects the traditions, and more importantly, the trauma behind the legend. The real Wendigo is far scarier than any horror movie, because it's not just about what lurks outside. It's about what lurks within. So what do we do with a legend like the Wendigo? We listen. We recognize that indigenous cultures have carried deep, complex truths in the form of stories, not just entertainment, but spiritual maps. The Wendigo teaches that there is a line, and when we cross it, we lose something vital. But the flip side of the legend, there is always a choice. Even when faced with desperation, we can choose connection over isolation, community over selfishness, balance over excess, and maybe, just maybe, if we heed the old wisdom, the whispers in the wind won't be warnings, but guides. Until then, be careful what follows you through the trees. Some hungers are never satisfied.